That I'm not sure, but the true direct solution, I would say, yes, there is not enough supply.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing a book.
Yeah.
So he's saying,
So would you write a book?
Some people write books to make money.
Talking about money.
That's another form
Selling
of
bad
supply.
things.
Talking about money.
Oh boy. Go ahead.
It's okay, I'm going to say he's telling you to be the supplier. Come across as a good supplier.
You think that's what he's saying?
To meet the demand.
Okay, I'm going to ask him.
Now, we are at 8:30, so we have to stop there. Let me just make one point clear,
I'll
guys.
read the last two chapters.
Everybody in this room tonight should write their name down, okay? And if that book is written because we have contributed to it, whatever it makes, there's a certain amount of it should come here. I don't care. Get the money.
So there's two more chapters. I'll just tell you what they were. The next chapter, he said, was called The New Atheism. Now, I don't know if you understand this, that right now there's a resurgence of atheism in the world.
Yes.
Particularly in Europe and North America. And there's a whole bunch of authors, and they've called themselves the New Atheists. And, you know, they're Richard Dawkins and Hitchens. I don't know if you know all the ones, because they're all writing. And so on. He mentioned Sam Harris here. He says, I need to find common ground between what I'm saying and the New Atheists. He feels that I need to address the New Atheists.
Isn't that a scientific issue? I mean, it doesn't science.
The New Atheists are more anti-religionists than atheists. If you look
organized religionists?
Any form of religion, because they feel that religion is the problem.
It causes the wars.
It causes wars. Well, after 9/11, it caused fanaticism. And they feel that it also is anti-science, because in the schools they're trying to get rid of various, scientific. In other words, there is an onslaught of irreligion. Right now, the highest number of scientists ever, I think it's increased, are atheists than ever before. I think it's like 75% of all physicists and 69% of all biologists. In other words, the highest percentage of atheists in the world now today among scientists. He wants me to take these people head on in one chapter, which is scary as can be. In other words, I would just stay clear away from them. He says, find common ground between your thesis and them.
And science is what's common ground.
I think you think that's...
So he's trying to attract atheists to spiritual issues.
It's hard.
Then why
How
don't
many of you think I should try to tackle that in one chapter of a 200-page book?
Point of view perspective. Point of view perspective.
Yes, keep going.
I see a cylinder, and you see a rod.
Right, okay.
So you're atheist, I'm not. We see two different things.
Exactly.
And so here's things that are in our world that we can't explain. How do the atheists explain it?
Okay.
So you can take it, that chapter could be focused on point of view, which I feel is missing from this book. So,
so far. You feel...
So far, you haven't touched on the point of view perspective.
Okay.
Because you can use that in everyday life.
And so I could use that. So do you think, I agree with you that frame of reference, point of view, as you point out, should be part of this book. Do you think taking on new atheism in a chapter in this book is a good idea or a dangerous idea?
No.
I think it depends on how you handle it.
You probably need more than one chapter. Good idea. You only need one sentence. God doesn't believe in atheists.
The problem with the new atheists is that everybody that attacks them are taking it from a religious, dogmatic point of view. And so if the war stays there, this is why he says find common ground.
None of them fare very well against them.
But you can't, because these guys have got PhDs and they've been lecturing, they're usually quite...
And they have a point. A lot of what they...
In my walk,
they have to say is
I agree with 90% of what
in my walk, I was listening to VID00002, who is a scholar, and he was saying that there is nothing wrong with being atheist. That's what they choose to do. They're very good people that are atheists. They just haven't recognized. That doesn't mean they're bad. Some people have recognized Christ, some people have recognized Moses, some people have recognized Baha'u'llah and Baha'i faith, but the atheists have not recognized any of them. But they could be very good people.
Yeah, it's part of that evolutionary change. Where you've got.
So you think it's okay for me to deal with this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you don't trash him.
The last one, also in all caps, he says, how to apply spirituality in your daily life. What makes us spiritual and what are practical applications in our daily lives. What do you think about that?
I don't know if that's a chapter. I think that's more of tools that are sprinkled all through the whole book.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just...
Exactly. But what do you think? Okay, but do you think it's important that that be in the book?
Yeah, I would see it as a call to action at the end of each chapter. So at the end of each week, you always say, this week I want you to forgive somebody that you hate. I want you to think about them differently. I want you to try to forgive them. And next week you'll tell me about that. Or I want you to try to make one change this week. And so you have a call to action. And so therefore your book is not only something that you read, but it's something that you're thinking of during the week. So you can apply it.
You're saying every chapter must have that component. In other words, when you finish a chapter, it's not good enough until it has some action that they can do that
moves
practices
it
that
from
chapter.
inspiration to motivation.
Exactly. The chapter goes from inspiration. Okay, I like that. That's very good. So I'm going to give you an assignment this week.
I'll write the book for you.
Each
one's write a chapter.
I can write this.
He'll sign it.
I want you to think about this, is that there is a publisher in the world right now who is very influential, quite well-to-do, and has Oprah Winfrey and people, who's willing to publish a book on spirituality. We all know this because this is the truth. And he wants me to submit a book. And so whatever this book does, we want it to somehow help the world. We just don't want to write another book, and we certainly just want it to be successful and make a lot of money or anything. That's not our goal. So I want you to think from your perspective.
If we have a share in it, we don't mind having you.
You will have a share. The payment is out of this world. Okay? No, I'm joking. The point is this, is that I want you to think this week very carefully. If there was a book that could somehow help me, or help my friends or my children or people I'm thinking about, what would that book do, or what would it contain? Or what does a book really need to do to move me, to change my life, to become more spiritual, or to change the world? You have one shot at this, because next week I'm going to probably send him all the chapter outlines. I'm going to start working on these this week. I'm going to send him all the chapter outlines. And maybe some of you think about your own life and what you need. What would be in a book on spirituality that you think is essential? Think about people that are having problems, what they need, or yourself having problems, and so on. So I'm going to give you, just like every week you said I'm going to give you an assignment to think about a book. You actually have a pure channel. You're like, and I'll put your name in the book, at the front of the book. Are you okay, Farzin? Is that okay?
You won't get away that easy.
But Tom, you know the talks you've been giving? No, every time you've given the talks, in my opinion, they're very nice and clear. You have the analogy, you have the science, you give the example of Einstein. Why don't you take your talks and turn it into books?
I did that to him, and he said it's too much, and it's too wide. In other words, look, believe me, I have 37 talks already typed
Because
out.
I think that would be easy.
He said it's
I
over
enjoy
500.
these talks.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is that he wants to take all of this and pick that much. If you go into
In that case, sorry, Tom. Well, he wants you to make that book. That's fine. Why don't you take these talks that you have every week? Because to me, I've learned so many things in your talks. I've been born in a Baha'i family. I've read the Old Testament. I've read the New Testament. I have knowledge of most religious writings. But the tips you have given in your talks are very good practical things that I was never aware.
Yeah, but the problem is,
Why don't you put it on YouTube?
if you took a 200-page book, does anyone know how long it would take to read out loud?
What am I hearing?
No.
She's not saying read the book out loud.
No, but I'm
This
just...
would be an adjunct to the book.
What I'm asking you is, if you took a 200-page book and read it out loud, it's only about 4, 5, 6 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. The point is that my talks, when Farzin's not around, they're like an hour and a half. Okay. I've got 37 of them. Okay. So in other words, if you took all the talks that I even have on this iPad right here, it would probably be about 10 books. And he doesn't like it. I keep sending him this, and I write whole chapters, and I actually send him whole transcripts of my talks. He says they're fantastic, but we need to figure out of all this ocean what is, one little island. wants to pick.
very hard.
And so
We're just trying to get you to focus. I mean, everybody's got to do that.
Well, you're an
You know,
architect.
you always got to
probably-
get down to what's the meat of the subject.
You know that more than anybody because someone will tell you exactly what they want. How many
Yeah.
rooms, how many bathrooms,
Yeah,
that you've got a size, you've got a shape. Maybe not a shape, but you've got a... In other words, you have to work to within a very narrow range of specifications, and then you put all your creativity into that. That's what he's trying to do to me. He's trying to force me to do this. So what you're saying to me, Ziba, I've tried, and he doesn't like it, and I don't like it either because the book is too long.
But have you gone through what Ziva asked you to do and try to take that speech instead of being an hour and a half, do it 20 minutes?
But there's 37 of them.
Okay,
I
so
still
that's a
need
place to
pick.
start.
I would still have to pick.
Yeah, I think it's 37 chapters is too much.
It's too
You
many.
probably have done. You got to do 15 and then cut them shorter.
Okay, if
Can
it's
you
100
take your 37 chapters
37 chapters.
and combine those, because some of those are related subjects that can be combined,
Yes.
down to 8 or 10 chapters that are related? Then now you've got 10 groups of 5-hour speeches, worth of speeches. You got to take that 5 hours and get it down to 1.
to 1 hour, exactly.
I mean,
So, okay.
then once you do that, then I think you can.
All right, well, let's see what's suggested. I'm going to look at it
You know
this
what?
way.
I like hearing more. You know, whenever I
That's
try,
what I'm thinking.
I hear
So
CDs.
once the book is written, you can do an audio book.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, we have to like
Actually,
it.
does
This thing
anybody
because
read
you're
anymore?
involved.
One of the things that I think Ziva sounds thinking about, she said, well, I've read all the religions. You got to decide who your audience is. Is it people that have a basis of reading all the religions? That's totally different
He
than
says no.
someone that's 21 years old that hasn't been anything to religion.
He
And you're
says-
trying to tell what spirituality is. Or is it a young person that doesn't really like reading? They're going to get on an iPad and read the first few sentences, and either it's going to grab them or they're going to leave. Or is it an older person that's getting ready to die, and all of a sudden spirituality is real important to them? Those are whole different audiences.
Exactly. And
And
he
here's the
says
thing,
it's...
Tom, I think that you want to catch the audience attention. You look at John Miller wrote QBQ, Question Behind the Question. It's a book about personal accountability. And that book, if you listen to the audio CD, it's less than 2 hours. You can finish
Is that the
book.
complete book?
That's the complete book.
So how long is
And
the
some
book itself?
some chapters are actually just a page long. But it talks about stress. And it talks about how stress is how you perceive a problem and how you react to the problem at hand. And in the computer field, I used to be stressed all the time because everybody has a computer problem, right? And so everybody wants it fixed now. And so I was going out and I was constantly stressed. For years of my life, I was just stressed. All day at work, all night, thinking I got to get up tomorrow and work on these, people's computers again because, they're stressing me out. Well, in this one little, it's like a 2-page chapter. It changed my life and my perception of how I handle stress.
Not even the whole book. You're talking about a chapter.
I'm talking about one chapter. Changed my whole outlook on stress. I don't do stress anymore. I quit. I gave it up because of the way he wrote that chapter.
Huh.
And it talks about procrastination, and it talks about doing things that you should do because you stop asking the question, when are they going to? It's the way you change the way that you think. So instead of me just getting up to take my plate to the trash tonight, I can take both of them with me, okay? Because it's something that I've changed from reading in that book. If I see paper laying on the floor or in the parking lot at my work, I can pick that up and throw it in the trash. It's not my job. It's not what I get paid to do, but it's something that I can do. It's a way of thinking. So this QBQ book has changed my life, and that's what your book needs to do. It doesn't need to go into 37 different in-depth topics. It needs to change my looking at spirituality and how I can look at spirituality on a day in and day out basis and see it within common things within my life and how I can apply it each day and have it top of mind. And then when you come out with the next book, then I'm wanting supply and demand. I want that book. Okay? You're going to print some hardcovers and it's going to be hard to get it.
So how many of you will agree with this?
I do.
I need to get this tape and listen to what you say.
Yeah,
So,
that way
now,
I can
did this book
blackmail you
change
and
your
take
life?
all your money.
Did this book change your life?
Yeah, definitely.
And if it's 200, if it's 2 hours, how many pages would that be?
It's a very small book. I bought it at an airport.
100 pages.
I bought it at
No,
an
no, if it
airport.
takes 2 hours to read, it can't be more than 100 pages, could it be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
100 pages.
it's just a very small book.
Who is it by? Again?
John Miller.
It's called
I
QB2.
bought it in the airport. I flew to another city. I read it on the plane.
Okay, this is very similar to the Four Agreements by Ruiz. You know that book, which is only about 80 or 90 pages? And there have been some books recently that have been very short, that have been very, very powerful, and people said they've changed their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Length of book doesn't necessarily mean it's more or less powerful.
That's correct.
Okay, but anyway, even though that's a really good advice, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to get the copy of this, I want you all to think this week and tell me next week, because probably I'm going to go away for 4 weeks to speak at 4 or 5 different conferences in the month of August, mainly the month of August. So in about 5 weeks I'm going to go away. And I want to submit the book in 5 weeks. I mean, for me, writing is not the hard thing. It's more harder for me to decide what not to write than it is to decide what to write. So next week I'm going to ask you, and then we'll go on to something, and I may read you the first chapter of the book next week. Now, I wanted to say one thing before we go. Next Tuesday, we're going to try something very interesting. How many of you are able to say a prayer for healing for somebody? Do you have a prayer? And does anyone not have a prayer for healing? I could send it to them. What I want to do is I want to try something. Exactly at a certain time, 1 week from now, Tuesday, Juan is going to be in the hospital with a very important operation on his foot.
His
There.
toe.
Which one?
His toe.
Your toe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it varies.
I'm sorry?
I guess it varies which way you look at it.
Okay, but he's going to have the operation, and so they're driving up to Kentucky, and they're going to have it. So I was wondering if I could send you all an email, or Ziva can send an email, when we know the time of day, and we'll send a prayer, and maybe we could, all of us in this room, at that very moment, say the prayer, and let's see if that has an effect. I mean, we want to do practical things, real things. Saying prayers for people that are ill is a very important step in spirituality. So how many of you would like to be a part of that? Okay, so it's next Tuesday. And so Juan, when you're sitting in that operation, if you're awake, you know that all of these people will be saying a prayer for you at that very moment. So I'd like to close tonight, Ziva, if you could just say a short prayer that we'll say next week.
Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thank you very much for coming. But you know, Tom, this time you cheated a little bit.
Why?
Your talk was based on your book. It wasn't based on the chapter that I was expecting you to buy.
Okay. No, I got
No,
this
he
email.
has to do this. This is very helpful to him when he gets ideas from different people of how he can put that book
Yeah, but I
together. That's
wanted to
very
hear
important.
the talk on the details.
Oh, yeah, I'll do the talk on my picture. But you know, the point is that I'm not writing the book for me. I'm writing the book for people.
That's what you.
And,
I was going to say, one of the things that, you know, I have left these sessions and talk about them, and talk about history. I think that people that read books, there are different stages you have to go through.